All right, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. We had a slight issue with the software. Again, this is brand new software. You're going to have to cut me a little slack here. First time using it, just was able to get it last night, but this will solve the recording issue, so you guys will have a
At least
archive.
we didn't have to dump them into the Paul Revere waiting room, before they get on the site.
Well, this is true. Little glitches. Hey, guys, at least this one's working, okay?
Hey, that was one glitch. Just remember one, right?
Yeah, one.
It's not like
just
it's not the government website.
And it's not even a glitch. It's just that I'm having to change the way I do things, and it was my screw up. It wasn't the software.
Is that hope and change, or
hey,
hope and change?
Yeah.
You're only human,
change.
man. All right.
Hey. Okay. So anyway, guys, I wanted to get into something. At the start of the show here, I wanted to get into something a little heavy, but it shouldn't take long. It's very important information. Kind of scary, but guys, the good news is if you know about it, we can do something about it. Okay. So. What I wanted to show you was this right here. This is from Fox News. And the Army is now considering Christians, the Tea Party, and basically anybody who believes in liberty and the Constitution to be a threat, as in terrorist. Now,
there's no surprise. I mean, the federal government's been going after the Tea Party for, how many years now?
Several,
yeah.
But now it's actually been going on quite a long time. It's just finally now in the news.
Well, I mean, all those scandals that were going on with Obama and the IRS targeting Tea Party groups, nonprofit groups, the 501c.
Yeah. So.
And I also got some message, too, and I mean, this is kind of, you got this thing going, but I just also got something from our state committee woman, Nancy McGovern. She sent me a message saying, we've even got some issues with these huge billionaires, I guess, or these billionaires are just going after Tea Parties as well. If you want to throw this up on your screen, it's kind of related to what you're just talking about.
Okay.
Now what they want to do is just crush the Tea Party because there's that rift between, in the Republican Party. And, I mean, you can't solve it by just crushing the Tea Party or going after them with money or going after them with government.
Yeah.
You can't just destroy it. It's a grassroots movement. And they really,
well, they're giving it
how
their
is it
all.
possible?
They're giving it their all. And, guys, I haven't really talked too much about this because it hasn't been in the news, and it's hard to prove things when they're not in the news. People think you're a kook, whatever. Those who know me in person have known this has been going on, but I'm going to show a video right now just to back up what Fox News is saying here. This is from 2001, and you will see the timestamp. This is a class going on at a military base put on by FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security. So we'll take a look at this.
You're damn right, because think about the Christians, okay? Do you accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? No. What did they do? They took your head off. They beheaded you if you didn't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. See, this is reality. Yeah, they're terrorists, but the bottom line is to them, they are not. Now, why is that important to understand? Because they are as committed to their cause and to their way of life as you are yours. And they see you as being wrong. That's very different. When people are passionate about what they believe in, they become a very difficult enemy to beat. Who was the first terrorist organization in the United States? Who? Founding Fathers. You mean Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, yeah.
You mean George Washington?
Oh, yeah.
Paul Revere?
Yeah.
These guys right here Let me ask you something. Did they try to scare people? Well, yeah. They tried to intimidate the British. Did they use acts of violence? Your founding fathers, my founding fathers, were involved in acts of terrorism against British officials because they systematically had British officials assassinated. The guys who we call our founding fathers, George Washington, Mr. Honest, who cut down a cherry tree and admitted it, is the same guy who signed death orders, if you will, on members of the British government, the British Crown, who they wanted to eliminate because politically they had influence in certain pockets of the United States, at that time the 13 colonies, and they wanted to divide and conquer. They may get a whole lot of civilians, and hey, I'm going to be honest with you, okay? If they killed 10,000 civilians tomorrow with a biological agent, that's too bad for them.
So, guys...
Okay.
Yeah, what can you say about that? I
You know,
mean,
it just struck me watching that. You said that was Fort Hood, right?
no, I don't think that one was Fort Hood. Most of what's going on today is coming out of Fort Hood. I don't remember. Like I said, it was 2001. I don't remember exactly where that was.
That looked an awful lot, and it was kind of grainy video. It's kind of a little tough to tell.
Well, it's from 2001. So.
I know. I know.
They didn't have digital cell phones back then.
I understand. It looked an awful lot like Nidal Hassan, at least his form as the guy teaching. So that could be what it is. That was being shown there was him, because if you followed that case, you remember that was one of the things that he did.
And the DOD has come out and said, well, we've suspended this, and we're going after those who say that who say this because it's not DOD policy. The problem is that it is DOD policy. There's a lot of things, and guys, they're hundreds of pages long. I'll show you some of the documents, and I encourage you to go look through them. I don't have time to go through hundreds of pages of documents with you here today, but I will put a few pages on screen and show you some things here, show you that this absolutely is DOD policy. This is handed straight from the Pentagon in a lot of cases, and the Pentagon has actually come out and said that Iraq was a laboratory for here in the U.S., especially disarmament. And if you think about what happened in Katrina. They came out and said, we're going to disarm everybody. No one will be able to be armed. They went door to door collecting arms, and most of those people still haven't gotten back their firearms. So, and I lived there for 2 years in the aftermath. I know for a fact, firsthand experience, that that's the case because I heard it from everybody. Okay?
Wow.
If you don't think that disarmament can happen in this country, you're a fool because it has. Okay?
But here's the thing, though. They can't take everyone's firearms.
That's
just not a possibility.
They can't.
No, it's
logistically, it's not a possibility.
But, I mean, even the thought to attempt to even try it is just, it's not an attainable goal.
Yeah, but
I mean, there are so many guns
it is their
in
goal.
this
And
country.
here's the
And you're
problem. They're
exactly
not
right
doing
with
it. They're not going to go door to door right now.
Yeah.
If you're looking for that, then you're looking for the wrong thing.
Right.
What they're doing is they're making it taboo to own a gun. They're making it taboo to even like guns. That's the big issue right there.
Well, I understand that.
They're making it to where, did you see that sign that was in Fort Myers for the longest time? On 41, it said, report illegal guns, and it had a picture of a revolver on it. Since when is a revolver illegal?
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, too, like you were saying, you have to be indoctrinated into that whole mind frame when you're talking about adolescence, you're talking about youth, you're talking about schools at a very young age, and when you're talking about teaching these kids to say, hey, guns shouldn't be a part of our society. I mean, obviously, down the road, those numbers will grow saying anti-gun.
Well, they already are growing. I
get that.
Look at the public at large. The average person now is half brain dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a huge liberal-leaning force in our schools today.
Yes.
And
we're going to talk about some stuff in schools, too.
Well, I think, that's part of the problem is our school system. And, I've been advocating for charter schools, for vouchers, for a voucher system so that people can send their kids to schools that they would choose to send, because it's getting to the point where it's going to be very hard to turn the ship around on public schools. They've just gotten so far off course in educating kids in fundamentals of reading, writing, math, and now it's political correct nonsense. And
Exactly.
It's tough to get that back on track. So if they have to compete through a voucher system program, it's probably the only way we're going to fix the school system at this
I
point.
want to address this really quickly about someone just wrote on the chat here and said, we do have, how many military do we have? Is it possible to disarm people? And I'd say majority of the people who are in the military are gun owners. After they get out of the military, they're gun owners.
Well, you're exactly right.
We have more retired vets than we have people that are currently in the military. So to say the fact that if you're going to have the military come in and take our firearms, you've got retired vets that say, oh, hell no. If you're going to walk in my house and try to disarm me, I'm going to take my AK and I'm going to blow you out, because this is my home, this is my territory, this is my place, and it's my right as an American to hold a firearm. So I think if you go way back in history, back to the 200 years ago, that's how we won our independence.
Well, you're exactly right there. But guys, I want to kind of calm your nerves a little bit about the military. I talk to a lot of military guys. Okay, and I've heard it, and it's actually been in the news in some sources. You don't see it in the big mainstream news, but you see. I saw several smaller radio shows having these guys on that were ex-Navy SEALs or former Navy SEALs. I have to be careful; they weren't kicked out. That are saying yes, it is true. There is a litmus test, and they are asking if these people will be willing to fire on Americans. Now, what I'm hearing from several people is that the idea that's going through the military right now is that you say, yes, I'll fire on Americans, and you stay in, you wait for the order, and then you arrest the person who gave that order because it's an illegal order, and that's treason. Now, if this is actually what's going on, well, then I'd say they've got bigger issues than just us here at home that aren't going to turn in our guns. The military itself is going to back us, and that should give you a little bit of
give you comfort.
Yeah, a lot of comfort.
Well, I've already got a lot of comfort on the issue because I think some of this stuff I just don't think we're going to get there.
No.
Yeah, but you know what? You guys can say that, but they said that in Germany, they said that in Russia.
But Germany has in their constitution. Now I don't know this, but let me ask you a question. In Germany, did they have a constitution that said they had the right to bear arms?
I don't believe so, but put it
that's a
this
huge
way.
difference.
It's a good
Put it
point.
this way: in Russia, they were far more armed than Americans. They had more arms than America. When Lenin came in, he bought off all the key strategic cities, and then he went in and he disarmed. Now, the biggest problem that he had there was that the people would just slide a rifle out the window and shoot his dudes. Okay, but eventually he did disarm the country. They said it couldn't happen there, and it was a hard battle.
What country are
but
you
it
talking
did.
about?
I'm talking about Russia back when it
Russia?
became Leninist Russia, as Lenin took power.
Well, let me
I
say,
want
go ahead.
I want to get to some of the comments that are coming up on the screen. We've got the chat room starting to get a little lively here, and they've kind of picked up on the whole voucher thing. And some of the comments. One person who's on here who has autism and says, private schools definitely specialize in special needs better than public.
Absolutely.
One of the other commenters talked about how we have one non-teaching staff for every 17 students. It's getting ridiculous, not only the bureaucracy of the school system, but in addition to what's being taught, the bureaucracy is ridiculous now, too. The overhead and the other comment that the local principal and school board really don't make any decisions anymore. And that's true, too. It comes down from the feds, from the state, and there's very little ability to
And now we're putting all this
teach.
trust into the Common Core.
Oh, that could be
program.
an entirely separate show where there's so much to talk about with that.
Yeah, I'm looking something up here right now, guys. I wasn't prepared for this, but
while you're doing that,
pull it up.
While you're doing that, and while we're on schools, let me tie it into being the end of October and a little cool out. And what comes at the end of October? Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, isn't that great? Well, if you're at the University of Colorado Boulder.
Oh, yeah.
Students have been asked to stay politically correct this Halloween. So if you wanted to be a cowboy, that's frowned on. If you wanted to be an Indian, no way. A
redskin.
If you wanted to be ghetto or white trash / hillbilly, nope. and I'm sure I would be absolutely sure that if you wore an Obama mask, you would be thrown off the campus. So political correctness gone amok again. And this is Halloween, folks. Get a grip. This is a holiday where you're supposed to dress up and have a little fun, and now you can't even do that anymore. So, and as we get to the holidays, I'm sure we'll be able to follow up with politically correct Thanksgiving, because, we probably can't talk about the Indians there either. And then we'll get to Christmas. At least we'll say Christmas on the show.
Are we? We're going to say Christmas, right?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
Why wouldn't
I
we?
hope so.
Why wouldn't we? Here you go, guys. Here's one more piece of ridiculousness that the schools are doing, and it's not even the schools on this one. The federal government has started putting down mandates that parents are not allowed to send a packed lunch anymore without a doctor's note.
A doctor's note?
You can only pack your kid's lunch now. Now, I don't think this is all schools yet. It's starting to propagate. But they're sending notes home to the parents saying that the only way they're allowed to pack their children's lunch is if they have a doctor's note.
This has to be tied to Obamacare, right?
I don't think so. I think this is tied to another video.
Well, I mean, if you need a doctor's note to have a lunch in your school, then obviously there's some money to be made here in the government when it comes down to universal health care.
Well, now that
I don't know. I mean, I'm just assuming.
Will this require them to have to enroll in and be able to get on healthcare.gov before they can get the note from a doctor?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe you can sign up for a doctor's note on
that poor kid will
healthcare.com.
starve by the time he gets that note.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this is what I think this is tied to. And I'm going to play a clip from MSNBC. Many of you probably have already seen this. I don't know if you guys have or not. But this is rather interesting. So take a look at this.
We have never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Don't belong to you. If you give birth, if a woman gives birth to her kid, it's technically not her kid.
That's right.
I mean,
it belongs to the community.
I mean, don't tell my mother that. She still thinks I'm her kid. So don't tell mom that.
You haven't cut the cord yet?
No.
Oh.
Oh, I can. I met your parents, and I think I can see that. Quite the mama's boy, aren't you?
Hey, it comes with being an only child. But we've got some other comments popping up, and Coyote. Who's Coyote?
I think that's Jen.
Jen, that's right. Jen's going to be dressing her son up as an army guy with a firearm for Halloween, so we can count on seeing Jen's son on Fox News.
Just got arrested, indefinite detention
school,
in a federal concentration camp for having a toy gun. Or guys, did you see that? I don't have it up here. Did you guys see that report? I think it was Fox. It was either Fox or NBC that a 13-year-old kid was shot by the police for having a toy gun.
Yeah, I did see that.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, things are getting scary, guys. Things are getting really scary. But here's the good news. We can do something about this. Again, we always talk about activism. Guys, it's time to get active. It's time to inform your police. When you see a cop, go talk to him. Say hi. Be nice. You'll find out what kind of cop he is. If he looks at you like you got 3 heads and tells you to go away, then obviously he's been somewhat federalized and he thinks he's a jackbooted thug that owns the world. There still are a lot of good cops out there. We got to find the good cops and we got to spread the good cops. Got to make sure they're the ones who get the attention and not these jackbooted thugs that want to shoot kids for having toy guns. This is ridiculous. Guys, I understand it's a dangerous job, and they teach they teach the cops that the most important thing is that they go home now. And you know what? That's very important, but there's something more important. The more important thing is that you have enough balls to do the job so that you don't end up killing a kid because you're scared of a toy gun. I mean, what do you guys think?
I'm going to assume, and this may be a little bit of a leap here, but I'm going to assume that the officer thought it was a real gun.
Even so, it was a 13-year-old kid. You've got to think before you shoot.
You do. I didn't condone what he did.
I think it kind of ties
into. It certainly
into,
could have looked like a real gun.
It ties into the whole school shootings things that's going on.
It does.
It seems to happen almost on a monthly basis at this point, because we have a problem with school shootings, and I have to say that's getting way out of hand.
Well, here's the thing. It's barely gone up at all. It's just getting a hell of a lot more of attention than it used
and that's
to.
exactly right. It
You
has
think
not
it's
really
you
gone
don't
up.
think it's gone up at all?
No, it really
No, it has
hasn't. It's
not.
gotten a hell of a lot more attention. Look at the actual numbers. There's maybe a little bit of an incline because of copycats, but it's not even a percentage point.
Well, let me ask you a question then. Back before Columbine happened, what were the numbers for school shootings before all that? I don't even know what the statistics were, but after Columbine, it seemed to happen more frequently. Am I wrong?
No, it
hasn't.
hasn't, and I don't.
I mean,
have
this is
exact
what I would
numbers for you
see
right
from
now.
the news. That's
That's
what I'm
right.
saying.
That's what we're
Exactly.
saying. Is
I don't know the
it
numbers
hasn't.
either,
It hasn't gone up. I've looked at the numbers. I just don't remember them off the top of my head.
There were some,
and it's.
But I don't remember.
It's
I don't
flat.
recall. I don't recall before Columbine it ever being in the news.
That's
beforehand.
because that's right. It wasn't in the
Right.
news.
That's
Right.
interesting.
It wasn't talked about. But here's the thing: it's something that they can exploit to demonize gun owners. And have you noticed that every single time something like this happens, it's collectively all gun owners' fault, according to the news?
So now
You're evil because you own a gun.
I think this that Jen is right here in what she's saying. We don't have all the facts. I know you read the article. I just kind of heard it in passing. So, what was this at night? Was it?
I don't.
in a
I
dark
don't
alley?
remember.
What,
Again, I wasn't planning on bringing it up.
Yeah.
It's been a week or so since I've read it.
we
those are
should,
important facts
well,
to
here's
know
the thing.
about-
Let's take
about
a
the
note of
case.
that and bring it up on next week's show.
Yeah, and we can we'll take a note of it, guys. We'll post. I'll look it up and I'll post what I find out, the details of it on the Facebook account. But I don't care what the specifics are. You shot a 13-year-old kid for a toy gun. I'm seeing too much of this stuff. I mean, kids are now getting suspended for playing with toy guns in their front yard. Kids are getting suspended for eating Pop-Tarts and they look like a toy gun.
Absolutely.
It's
Those
lunacy.
things are insane.
It's lunacy, but this
one,
falls right into
particular-
line.
It doesn't, unless we know the facts of the situation. So you got to know some details. there.
Look it up while you're sitting over there. Look it up. Let's find out the details. But like I said,
I'm not making judgment whether you're right or wrong.
I
just
understand
wanna see
that,
some
but
facts
at the
about it.
same point, like I'm saying, it's a 13-year-old kid. You are a cop. You see this stuff every day. At least you claim you do. Okay, you should be a little bit less scared and be able to think about it and make sure you know what's going on before you pull that damn trigger.
We'll get the details.
Yeah. So let's move on to something else. What do you got here, Chris?
Yeah, let's. One of the things that I was going to talk about last week, and we just ran out of time, was, and actually, I'm glad we waited because some things that were on the news this week kind of tie in nicely to this topic. But have you ever seen the show with Joan Rivers? How'd you get to be so rich? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. I don't watch
It's,
TV.
Well, if you ever turn on that box, that flat thing out there. It's a pretty good show.
You mean the electronic brainwashing
yeah,
device?
that's the one.
Okay.
Well, in that same light, we could have said,
Exactly.
the same
They could have
thing.
tased him.
Well,
Good job.
you don't know how close they were either. So
I found it.
Okay,
all right. Well, let's finish the gun topic before we switch
All right.
gears.
I apparently this took place in California.
Big surprise.
It was a 13-year-old boy. No more than 10 seconds elapsed from the time the sheriffs and deputies spotted the 13-year-old California boy carrying what they thought was an assault rifle. And the moment they shot him dead, learned afterward that it was a plastic gun, a replica. Yourself, this comes from ChicagoTribune.com. I mean, it happened in California.
Just looking at the first couple paragraphs of that didn't really give the details of, hey, was it dark out? Where was this? What was, so it leaves a lot up in the air still.
Yeah, looks that way. I mean, what I'll do is I'll just, do some
Okay,
research
I
on this.
want to respond to Sean here. He says he disagrees that if someone pulls a gun and he owns a gun, he's gonna shoot. Well, here's the thing, Sean. If they pull a toy gun and you shoot them, you're going to jail for murder.
That's right.
Plain and
here's
simple.
the thing. I mean,
so why is it different for the cops?
I'm gonna tell you a true story. When I was a kid, I had been like 13, 14. Went to a football game. A guy pulled out a gun on me. And I went home, and I had told my parents, and they called the police, and they tracked the guy down, and to find out it was a toy gun, and it looked real. And even the police officer said, by looking at this gun, it would have apparently, I would have taken it as a gun as well. So the kid, he had to go to jail. And the long story short, we didn't press charges, but he was young, he was stupid, and he was immature, and he had a lot of growing up to do. But he wanted to show his buddies, hey, listen, I could probably scare this guy by pulling. And it was at night. You could barely, all I could see was the silver. I remember that. And, a long story short, the thing is that the kid got, he had to pay the price. He went to jail, had to pay a fine. And, his parents had to pay a fine.
Well, yeah, and that's menacing. That's different.
Right, but there was.
Okay,
but he never got shot and killed.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you would have been armed and you would have thought that was a real gun, you would have drawn down on him, fired, and killed him. You would have gone to jail for murder because your life was really not in danger. And there's arguments that you can make that, you thought your life was in danger, but when push comes to shove nowadays, you're going to jail.
Right.
There's very few juries out there that will not convict you.
Even if you felt your life was in danger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, why is it so much different for the cops? Why are they above the law? And it's not just on this issue.
Well, because they might say, hey, these police officers are trained.
I don't think it's anyone being above the law. Again, even after seeing that article, it doesn't give any real details into what actually happened. Or the scenario of how it happened, where it
Well, I'm not.
So it
again,
leaves a lot to be.
I'm not just talking about that issue. What about him? And guys, like I said, there's a lot. I would say the good cops outnumber the bad. I'm talking about the bad cops right now. Okay, that 10, maybe 20% in each department that are just retards. That they were the guys that got picked on in high school all the way through high school. Now they got a badge and they're exacting their revenge. You know who I'm talking about? Those guys. Okay, the guys that will get sick of waiting at a red light, so they flip on their lights and go through and turn them off as soon as they're through. They really do think they're above the law. These are the guys that I'm talking about.
These are the guys that go into schools and shoot up a bunch of kids and teachers.
Yes.
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 And those are the ones we should look out for, because if then it kind of goes in the relation of bullying and all that other stuff. But we don't need to get into all that. But
we can get into bullying later, because I've got a whole.
I thought we were
going to
switch gears on. Don't you?
Yeah,
and I didn't even bring up the obvious, but somebody else did, the Trayvon Martin case.
Oh gosh, let's not get into that.
Yeah,
we'll be here all day.
So let's get back to how'd you get to be so rich? And we're not going to talk about the people who made plastic dog poop and are millionaires now, and we're going to talk about our own elected representatives in Congress, and we'll start at the top of the Senate.
There's so much to say
with
there.
Harry Reid. And we'll post these articles later this afternoon after the show ends. But the article is by Betsy Woodruff, and it's ran in the National Review, titled, "How Did Harry Get to Be So Rich?" Well, Harry has been a public servant for every year of his adult life except for 2. So always a government job, right? Mm-hmm. So
favors for favors, I'm
you
sure.
would,
and the fact that they legalized insider trading again for the Congress.
And what kind of leads me into even thinking about Harry Reid was the idiotic statement he made earlier this week, a couple of days ago, about how everybody would love to pay more taxes. Well, Harry, I don't want to pay any more taxes. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of not even happy with the amount I got to pay now. But
You're not kidding.
so I don't want to pay
Crap.
more, Harry. So just so you know, not everybody wants.
Oh,
to
you're
pay
not
more
for
taxes.
revenue?
You know what? Quite honestly, no, I'm not. Because I think we should defund most of the government because it would cause it to shrink.
Well, you
and
know
then
what's so funny? That Harry Reid and all the Democrats always never want to use the word taxes. They just want to use the word revenue. Oh, we're for revenue. We want revenue in the economy. We want revenue in the government. But
Yeah,
anyway,
which translates to raping the public.
taxes.
Well, let's get back to Harry.
Yeah,
we
get back-
got to talk
sorry.
about Harry.
yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
We keep getting sidetracked.
Harry's current annual salary, you know what he makes as the Senate president? $193,400, right? And his net worth is between, and this is a pretty wide range, between $3 and $10 million. And you know why it's that wide of a range? Because this man who made a big deal of calling for Mitt Romney to release his tax records when the presidential campaign was going on, hasn't released his. So So we don't. He only has to estimate that range, and it's when you do your financial report in Congress. So it's a pretty wide range. His net worth when he entered the Nevada state legislature in 1982 was between $1 and $1.5 million.
This was when he was in the state legislature?
That was as a state legislator. So how did he earn so much? Well, in 2004, Senator Reid made $700,000 on a land deal that, it was a little bit of luck, I guess, on Harry's part. He bought a parcel of land, or he bought controlling interest in a parcel of land. Never actually even owned it, only had controlling interest in it, and sold that he bought 98 in 2004. So he only had it a couple of years, tripled in value in that time, and it happened to be tied to an area that
did he strike gold and oil?
No, it happened to be tied to an area that saw some earmarks and things, and that wasn't the first time that happened. In 2006. Harry committed to an earmark reform, but first, before he did that, he managed to get $18 million set aside to build a bridge across the Colorado River between the town of Laughlin, Nevada, and Bullhead City, Arizona. Now, nobody needed this bridge. Nobody even asked for this bridge. And I'm sure his ownership of 160 acres of land nearby had nothing to do with that decision. The property's value was based at about $500,000 when he bought it. Then this bridge comes in, and it's now worth, as of 2010, about $5 million. So pretty handy profit for Senator Reid. And I'm sure that earmark and bridge that he had something to do with didn't affect it at all, right? That was just coincidence.
But we want to point something out here, okay? We're talking about Harry Reid, but it's not just Harry Reid. It's every single one of them, including some of the ones that I like, okay? So,
do you have any
now
more?
Harry's claim was that he did a very good job of investing. Well, it's easy to do a good job of investing when you
with other people's money.
When you're the Senate president earmarking millions of dollars and
what companies are going to do what because of the laws you're passing and everything. It's called insider trading.
There were some stock deals, and he didn't just know about it. He earmarked it. He set it up for that.
He set it up for himself.
Yeah, this is the special interest that we always talk about.
So that was Harry, and Harry's got a friend, in one of the states out west there that is Diane Feinstein. Now, she's an even bigger case. Well, she's a nutcase, first of all, with her gun regulations, but she technically didn't profit from this because, it was her husband. Not her directly.
Okay.
You know that the federal government has been selling off some post offices.
Mm-hmm.
They've been trying to get rid of some excess property.
Mm-hmm.
And most of that's being handled by a commercial real estate firm called C.B. Richard Ellis.
And real quick, just a quick side note, why are they selling the post offices?
It's excess property.
Yeah, because the post office is failing, right?
Well, they've moved some, they've sold some, they've consolidated some.
Yeah, because the post office shows a deficit every single year, and these are the same people that want to run healthcare.
Well, I think we could go to. I think we
can't even deliver mail, but we want to run.
I think we can go to 3-day a week, 2-day a week mail service, and no one would even notice. But that's a whole other story. You'd get your birthday cards, and that's about all you need to mail. So, Diane's husband is Richard Blum, who is a co-owner of C.B. Richard Ellis Commercial Real Estate. Imagine that. And they're selling off all the post offices that are up for sale all across the country. Well, C.B. Richard Ellis has collected more than $108 million from a contract to sell off these foreclosed properties.
How is this not illegal?
Now, it's just ridiculous.
Now, here's another thing that
they get away with.
This kind of goes into what Chris is saying.
Yeah,
I'm going to go into this
Rick
shortly.
posted this earlier this week about
and
how
this
it's not just these two guys, but there's
both parties.
There's some. These things should be blatantly illegal, what they did.
Right.
But there are some things that committees that Rick's going to talk about now.
This was on 60 Minutes last week. But it caught my eye. And it was something that was promoted on television for a while. And so I'm like, I had to see this. And I mean, this is something that everyone knew it was going on, but, really didn't want to really watch it. I mean, I really didn't want to watch it because I knew I was going to get, my blood pressure was going to go up and I was going to get angry. But, I mean, Congress is using slush funds to bankroll lavish lifestyles. Now, if you want to pull this up, you already did. Okay.
And these are totally legal.
These are totally legal, and these are both parties are doing it. And from what I can remember from the story, and the story is in that article, and it's towards the middle of the page, and you can watch the whole story. But basically, I mean, I can just kind of run through a little bit of what happened in this story, and basically, what they were doing was, and all the politicians are doing this on both sides, is that they're taking the loopholes that are in the laws and using them for their, for their own personal gain with their families and their salaries, and they're hiring, all their family members and putting them on lavish salaries because that's the only people they can trust. Or they'll send them to send their families to, Scotland, or they'll throw them a big birthday party, or they'll go to this upscale golf course to do some golfing. And the thing is that, what really triggered me and it really blew my mind is that they did, and they showed both parties, and they showed something on Ron Paul. And what really infuriated me was that 4 of his family members were averaging about, total $304,000 for their campaign last time around. And that just blows my mind because he was probably, what they said, I think the top 3 as far as grossing money for a personal gain for their family. And I just thought it was interesting because, you've got this movement from the revolution on the libertarian side, and they look up to this guy, and yet he's part of the system and taking advantage of what the slush funds are. He's using the loopholes to make help his family become even more rich off of the money that's accumulated into the funds. And
I don't want this to become a bash fest on one particular person, because it's every single one of them.
Let me say every single one of them. But here's the thing, if we're talking not a slash against one individual, I think this one individual also needs to be exposed as far as being this huge image of the Libertarian Party. And the thing is that it's not. It's honesty, and honesty needs to be out there. And if we're going to talk about being honest, we also have to talk about the honesty when we're talking about Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Ron Paul, all the rest of them. Because
absolutely, and I completely agree with you. But I just want to point out that it's every single one of them.
Oh, it is.
I don't condone Rand doing this at all.
This is Ron Paul, not Rand.
Oh, Rand?
Ron Paul.
Really? Is Rand doing it as well?
Well, I'm sure, because he hired on 4 family members.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is
Sisters,
across
brothers,
the board. This
whatever.
is,
It's a system, and if you'll scroll up, you can give the exact name of what these committees are called, because leadership PACs.
Leadership PACs, yeah. They create their own PACs to have funds that they can touch. I mean, it's like you contribute to these candidates through their PACs, and then they can take money out to go play golf, to go on trips.
Sporting events, you name it. We had one of the more creative ones was a woman, Grace Napolitano, who's still in Congress, but she had loaned her campaign during her original campaign for Congress, had loaned herself her campaign $150,000.
I think it was at 18% interest.
Yeah, so she's been paying that back.
So she made money.
To her campaign has been paying it back to her for something like 15 years now.
Right.
At 18% interest.
18%.
She's made over $200,000 in interest
by loaning herself money.
Mm-hmm. This is genius on her part.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's legal in
why.
DC. It's legal in DC, but it's illegal in the states, and it should be illegal in DC.
Yes.
But the thing is that we don't hold our elected officials to the fire when it comes to this kind of stuff, and people forget it, and they don't do anything about it. And the thing is we need to call our representatives and call our congressmen, congresswomen, and hold them to it, because until we do that, this stuff is going to continue to happen, and it's not going to change. The insider trading we were just talking about, the stuff that's going on with Harry Reid, the stuff that's going on with these slush funds and these PACs, and they're taking our contributions. When will it be enough?
And I'm going to say something here, and it's a little bit sarcastic. But, I wouldn't even mind this stuff if they were just so damn efficient and running the country so well. But
if you deserve the money, you deserve the money.
We're getting
not
just crooked government, but bad government.
Right.
It's discouraging. Now, I wonder why their approval rating's like 3%.
Can I say real quickly? Locally we had Tammy Hall, county commissioner, that was just stepped down from the commission because she was spending contribution money, and she's looking at prison time.
Yep.
Now, here's the thing:
it's no different than what these guys are doing, except it's illegal up there through a PAC.
That's what I was just going to say. If she was in D.C. right now, it would have been like, oh, you did a good job. You made yourself richer off of the people out there.
Jen makes a good point. A lot of people just simply don't even understand what we're talking about here. Guys, what we're talking about basically is public theft. They're taking
our elected officials.
Yeah, they're paying with taxpayer money.
Both sides.
Yeah, both sides are doing it. Paying their family with taxpayer money.
Oh,
close to $500,000.
Oh, can I say, boil it down in the big picture? What we're really talking about is people who claim to be public servants going to do what should be a part-time, not a career, a part-time job, enriching themselves and making themselves wealthy instead of serving the public like they were intended to do.
I'd like to say
originally.
Two things. They call this story the open secret. This is the stuff. This is stuff that's been going on for years, and we all knew it. Like when I started talking about this, we knew this was going on for years, but people just don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to hold their, like Jim was just saying here, you have to hold your elected officials accountable. Now, here's the other thing that really kind of ticks me off is that if you watch Fox News and they covered this 60-minute story, guess what they did? They only talked about the Democrat candidates. They cut out every Republican in that news broadcast.
And the other broadcasts are the exact opposite.
Exactly.
And it just sickens you. And you watch it and you go, oh my God, there's so many sheep out there that are going to believe this.
Yep.
And it's just, it boils my blood.
But here it is, as we said, big picture, it's public servants enriching themselves, and not only are they enriching themselves, easy for me to say, they are also, they're doing it at the expense of good government. They're doing it at the expense, $18 million earmark towards a bridge, and all it did was enrich Harry Reid. It didn't serve any real purpose. And I guess.
Well, the thing is that
it's a mess. It's a mess.
There's so much theft within our elected officials, and we get to know these people, and I mean, we worked on campaigns with these people, and the thing is that they're one character when you first meet them and they're running, and then they become something else when they get in there, or when they get up in the polls and they get all the attentions and they get all the media's attention. They become a whole different person, and a lot of them get into politics just to get attention.
We're told we need a sheep sound, so
can we get some sound effects going over here?
We're gonna have to work on that.
There's no app for that.
Well, no, there's money involved in that.
Yeah. Do we need the federal government to come in and decide something?
Well, no, guys, if they offered me money, I'd turn it down. I don't want anything from those bastards.
Oh, while we're on that subject, I came across an article while we were chatting, and did you know that this same company that is set to that has built this disaster of a website also is partially in charge of distributing funds for Hurricane Sandy victims? Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
Do you know how much of the funds have been distributed to victims so far?
Oh, I don't want.
I think it's almost nothing.
1.2%.
Yeah.
That is insane.
And we're a little over, or right about a year.
Yeah.
Now,
and so people want to know why our government is so corrupt and why the approval rating for Congress and maybe all of the three branches is so low is because of this stuff. And how are we going to change that?
Well, I think that's the question to have. That's the debate to have. How do you change it?
You can't. Unless people get educated and stop becoming sheep and actually call up their congressman and say, "I've had it. You
Yeah.
got to do this. I want you to do this, and I want you to do that."
And
Jen, we wouldn't need to have a bake sale if we could just get an earmark. Maybe we can get an earmark.
And
I would
another
love.
thing.
I would love to do stuff like that, Jen. But I'm still trying to cut through the red tape with the business license and all that. They make. If you're going to do something with government, it's super easy because the government's profiting off of you. But if you do something like we're doing, they make it a nightmare. So. That's why.
You know what? And I mean, voting is one thing, but if you're an activist, you can do so much more than just vote.
That's it.
And here's the thing: with us, we have forums, and we can ask the people running for office the hard questions. Like this conversation we're having right now, we could actually, with a whole panel of people, say we're tired of this crap.
And you asked the real questions here on the city level.
Oh yeah, I made them answer. And then here's the thing: they tried to talk around the question, and I remember this clearly because you guys were standing right there next to me, and I said, "Is that a yes or a no?" And they're like, "Well," and they tried to run it around again. I said, "Okay, stop the time," because we had time for each question. Like I think it was a minute or two, and I said, "Stop the clock. All right, no more games. I want a yes or a no on that question." And they go, "No," and then some of them go, "Yes, no," and I'm like, "That's all I want." And the other one was, whether or not you're a moderate Republican or you're a conservative or you're just a Republican. And I made them answer that question too. And the thing is that they got pissed off at me. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need right now. We need people to, not just me and you guys, but it's also we need other people to join organizations and have forums
and not
hold
only
them
that,
accountable.
but people that actually have a decent head on their shoulders, people that care about this country and their community and everything, they need to run.
Well, and I'm going to get on my little soapbox and rant here about city elections just for a second. And I'm not talking just specific to the city of Cape Coral, although if you live in Cape Coral, we have an election with early voting starting on Monday.
Voter apathy is low.
Going through next week. Turnout in the primary was 7.93%. So maybe we could do a little better than that. Get out and vote if you're listening. And
what's the population in Cape Coral?
Vote.
What's the population here?
160, almost 160,000.
And how many people vote in the primary?
7.93% of registered voters.
So that would be how many thousand?
That's low.
Very low.
But my comments and my little soapbox wasn't going to be directed about the city of Cape Coral elections. It was going to be directed at city elections in general. So few people pay attention to these elections around the country, not just here, but around the country. This is where politicians get their start. They start at the city level. They work their way up. So if you're not paying attention to who's getting elected at the city level, when they run for state representative, when they run for school board, county commission, when they run for Congress, they're already going to have the money behind them, which is going to put them in a position to win, and then they're going to get in office federally, wherever, and you're going to go, how'd this guy get elected? This guy doesn't represent me. Well, it's because you weren't paying attention at the city level to start with. So start paying attention locally. Okay, I'm done.
You done? All right.
Yeah, guys. Your local government is your most important. And,
you're taxed more on the local level. I mean,
in some instances, not
almost
at all.
I mean, your
not
property taxes, your impact fees, your businesses, your
and if you really want to make a
all
difference, and I'm not going to get into this, but look into the legality of certain taxes.
Jen brings up a point here about elections and too few machines, and that was a problem in the presidential elections. But I can tell you with the turnout we have in city elections, I went in, voted, left, got back in my car, and was at the stoplight in less than 3 minutes.
I was the only one in the room besides the poll workers when I voted.
Yeah, it was so. Trust me, folks. The line issue is not an issue in city elections. You can go anytime.
Here's the thing:
in and out quicker than stopping at a red light.
And Jim's right. You can vote by mail if you're too lazy to get out the door and get off the couch. But here's the thing. Also, we're not the only city that has voter apathy. There's voter apathy everywhere in this country.
Absolutely.
And every single person, if you have an issue with your city or you have an issue with your taxes and your voter apathy is low, you have nothing else to blame blame yourself if you're not voting, or you get people educated around you about the issues and get them to vote. But if they don't know anything about city government or even state or even the county or whatever, then they shouldn't vote. I don't want people who don't know anything to vote.
And this comes back into the soapbox that I get on every once in a while, is that you don't have a freaking right to vote. There is no right to vote. Again, when the country was founded, you could not vote unless you were a landowner because you didn't have skin in the game.
Right.
If you don't have skin in the game, you don't need to be voting because
you don't know anything, don't vote.
Yeah, as several of our founders said, that when the time comes that politicians figure out that they can buy votes
they're
with
doing it
free
all the time.
stuff,
Yep.
we will lose our republic.
Yep.
And they buy votes with free stuff. And this is why we're losing our republic.
Well, here's a good example. I mean, all the elections we had last year, many of us worked on campaigns, and the only way, and they all say it, the only way you can win an election is if you've got money.
That's right.
And money buys you an election. And if you don't have it, you have no business running for office. I'm sorry, but you also have to be well connected within your community to raise money. You got to know all those groups, organizations, associations. You got to raise money from the big heads in the community, because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. It's true.
Very true.
Well, and Jim's right in his comment too. It's many voters only hear sound bites. They only may pay attention to a mailer and not actually do the research on the candidates, and that's disappointing. So not only do we not get people to actually go vote, but many of the people that actually do go vote don't really even know the candidates they're voting for.
Right.
That's very true. I mean, how many times have you gone? I mean, I've done it, especially locally. You go and you look and you don't even
nobody's
know.
in there.
Well, not only that,
Early voting.
nobody's in there, but you get like your school board you're
Yeah.
voting for and everything. You don't know half the names on that ticket
Unless you pay attention.
Now, guys, I'll freely admit I've been there. I've done that because I can only pay attention to so many things. I'm paying attention to federal, global, local, state. I'm paying attention to the whole thing. So I miss things, and therefore sometimes I miss entire candidates that don't even know they're freaking running locally.
Then don't vote for that race.
And that's exactly what I do. I skip that slot on the ballot.
I think Jim means this in a good way, but he does say people who listen to this show are not normal. I think he means more informed than most. And more interested in politics than your average voter. So it's a good point, and you're right about that.
Yeah, we tend to have a very educated audience.
Here's another thing that you should realize about voting too, is that if let's say you've got 5 races on the ballot and you don't vote for one of those races, you're still counted as a voting citizen. So each time, when we go through our lists and we're working on campaigns, we always look for the super voters, the ones that voted in the last 5 elections, or 3 elections in that case. But and then you look at that and you go, okay, I'm going to go knock on their door, and just be aware that if you're voting and you miss one race because you don't know anything about that race, don't vote for that race. If you don't know the issues, skip it.
And I've heard several people say, well, they don't count my vote if I don't vote on every issue.
Yes.
And they do. That is absolutely wrong.
Yeah,
you can skip a single race because you don't know
more
who to
than
vote
one
for.
race.
Yeah.
If you only vote for one race
true.
that you know about, and let's say it's the school board or city council or whatever, you can vote in that one little race, and then you don't know the rest of them. Don't vote because you don't know the issues.
Well, I'll tell you this too. Having run,
you ran for office.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't really know it from the outcomes. But having run several campaigns, on all of my material was my cell phone number. Do you know how many calls I got from people?
Probably none.
I got two.
2 out of how many thousands of mailers did you send out?
And
Isn't
email
that sad?
addresses. Didn't
That
get a
is
whole lot of
extremely
emails
sad.
either. And I could tell you from also working on other campaigns, it's not just me. It's not just that they didn't call me. It's the same with other candidates that I've worked on.
I want to ask,
for.
since we got Jim on the chat line here, and I want to ask you a question. How many phone calls or how many emails? He ran for Congress and he was on the Democrat ticket last time around, but he was in the public eye for a long while. And I just want to ask him, how many contacts did he have? How many people called you? How many emails did you receive? And you were running for Congress. Or just have Jim call in. I mean,
I just told him to. Let me give him the number.
Because I would love to know that.
So we won't give him the Obamacare number.
No, this isn't the Obamacare number. No, I don't want you to
we've
call.
only got an hour left in the show.
Yeah. It's not 1-800-FU, Jim. You can you can call that number I just gave you, and we'll let you on the show. So,
Do they still even use that number to this day?
I think so. Yeah.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
They haven't
Yes,
changed it.
No, they haven't changed it. I'm not completely convinced that it wasn't on purpose too.
He just. Oh, that's
So-
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big screw up, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
So, guys,
Didn't you have some other things you
yes,
wanted to show us?
I wanted to show a few things. Getting back to what we started with here, I wanted to show again how this is the Christians being targeted and the founding fathers being targeted. They claim that it's not DoD approved, but I'll show you this. Okay, let me get. Again, guys, you'll have to bear
Jim
with
just
me.
answered the question here. He just said very few contacts from voters. Only when I was out at events did people talk to me.
Yeah, and that's pretty accurate for me too, Jim.
I see it all the time. I'm just so disappointed. I walk into these forums or hobnobs or these events that go on with candidates, and it's like,
Yeah, it becomes
they just don't care, or it's the same people that come to these events, and they're all the big heads, and they're all of the people that you see on host committees, and it irritates the crap out of me.
it becomes a bit of a social circuit.
It
you know,
is.
you do see the same.
Who's the
people
richest?
at each
Wait,
of the
wait, wait.
events?
When you walk into these rooms, who's the richest and who's the skinniest, and who is the most popular? It's just like high school. That's all it is.
Well, you never really get out of high school. How many psychological papers have? Well, I don't know. How many psychological papers I've read? I don't think you guys read those. That
We don't
point that-
read? Is
No,
that what
I
you're
didn't
trying to
say
say?
that. I said you don't read. The
I'm
same,
hurt.
You don't read the same stuff that I do. Because I'm a
That's
weird
true.
person. I read government documents. I read psychological studies. I read scientific papers.
Hell, even the government doesn't read government documents.
I know that. I know that.
I bet you
So-
read the whole 9/11 report, right?
Actually, I did.
I bet
and
you
it,
did.
yeah, well, we won't go into that. All right.
I knew it.
Let's not go there.
Yes, I did. I read the whole thing.
Did you? You read the
That's
whole
not
thing?
The whole thing. It
Now
took
you
me a
need to
week.
pick up the Obamacare bill and read that.
That's going to take a whole month of
You
Sundays.
know, I'm not even sure about picking it up.
I
That might
know,
be
right?
tough.
12,000 pages at
No,
this
well,
point.
I mean, Jim would know. He's probably going to say that's not accurate. But here's the thing: you could probably read the regulations there, Jim. You tell me how many regulations and how many pages are on the books for Obamacare.
It's 12,000 pages right now with thousands of pages on top of that of regulations
You know,
on
I-
top of the 12,000 pages for the actual bill. So, yeah, but getting back to what I was talking about before, we got way sidetracked, which I don't think is a bad thing. We talk about a lot of interesting stuff here, and we tend to get sidetracked, but I hope it keeps people's
well,
attention.
because we're all interested in this,
Yeah.
and we're all passionate about it. So
You never know
it
where
needs
the
to
show's
change.
going to go.
I'm gonna bring up one of those government documents that I read and that most people don't. Okay, and this is from the Department of Homeland Security, the National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Response to Terrorism. Okay, this is a report actually put out by Homeland Security. And what's up? Oh, anyway, you got me sidetracked. See what happens? You can't do that. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Anyway.
Oh, something shining,
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah.
Squirrel!
Shining. Yeah, squirrel.
Okay, so anyway, anyway, guys, again, this is from Department of Homeland Security. I'll put it on screen for you here. On screen for you here. On screen for you. If you read right here, if you read right there, if you read
We hear this daily in the news. Well, they don't really, but they
don't. And guys,
they were talking about some sound that I guess we had some audio issue.
Really? Do you still? Let me know.
Can't hear you.
We've got echo chamber.
Oh, I know exactly what happened. There. Now we're better. Guys.
Okay, where did we lose?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us?
Yeah. Well, there's no more echo. I just saw what happened. Again, it's the new software, guys. I forgot to take a setting off.
When did we go on mute? How far back?
We didn't go on mute. It was an echo chamber.
Oh, it
was. Everything I said was being echoed.
Oh.
Yeah. Again, it's just software issues. I'm learning the new software. First day using it. Sorry, guys.
Best part of the
show. Yeah. So, anyway, guys, here, if you look at this. These are terrorist symbols, according to the MIAC report of 2009. Okay, the Gadsden flag, the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, that a lot of our listeners, I'm sure, fly. I know I have one. The sovereign citizens. If you don't know what sovereign citizens are, guys, they're simply people that believe that the Constitution is right and the sovereignty of this country comes from the sovereignty of the individual. Okay. In other words, the people are in control.
Someone just said, just start over. I didn't hear anything.
I will do the best I can. So anyway, again, Malone Labe, guys, that's Greek. It means come and take it. That's basically the "Don't Tread on Me" flag, or the "Come and Take It" flag. The upside down flag, I got a lot of friends that fly that because the country is in distress, and that's all that means. Here's the one that really irks me, guys. The 9 stripes of the Sons of Liberty. Once again, that is the founding fathers. They were terrorists. And then the Navy Jack, the first Navy Jack, our first military flag, is now considered a terrorist symbol. So I'm off my soapbox now. I'll do a big presentation on that, and I'll put it on YouTube for you guys. But I wanted to point this out to you guys and find out what you two thought about all this.
Yeah, well, just listen to our rich buddy Harry Reid. We're all anarchists, terrorists, and
I'm a libertarian.
Hostage takers. What were some of the other language? I can't leave that one out.
Yeah, everybody's a racist if you.
So we're hearing this.
The TNT party stands for KKK. Did you know that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they burned. They burned the cross.
How Alan Grayson ever got reelected? I mean, they got rid of him once up there in the Orlando
because
area,
people
and
are
he
sheep.
came back. How do you bring that guy back? He was absolutely psychotic the first time.
Because people are sheep. They believe everything they hear. They believe everything they see on television.
Obama.
That's right. And the thing is that, until people wise up and start actually doing their own research and start learning about how these people become richer and why they're doing the things that they're doing, and like you just posted, I mean, this whole idea that our founding fathers are a part of the problem, when they have that kind of messaging out there and people start believing it, until people start educating themselves on everything that's going on, I think it's just going to get worse and worse. I don't think it's going to get any better, and I think actually this is just the start of it. And I guarantee you, probably 3 to 5 years down the road, we're going to have full out, socialist state. I mean, it's basically we're already there, but I don't think people will realize until they start getting fined for not having health care. And once that starts hitting and people start going to do their taxes and they say, I was expecting $1,000 refund, and they go, oh, no, we're going to take all that. And they're going to go, why? And they're going to go, well, you have to pay for your health care.
Yep.
And then they'll say, well, I don't need it. I'm too young. And they'll say, well, that's too bad because it's a right to have health care.
Did you see that Fox report, though? They can't enforce the fine unless you get a unless you get a tax return. The only thing they can do
That's
is
the only
take the
thing they
tax
can
return.
do. Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
But no, here's the
that
thing.
will change. That
That
will
will.
change because the IRS is in control of it, and
Well,
the
the IRS takes our money anyway.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, guys, if you're one of those people that likes to give the IRS a free loan for a year, no interest-free loan, you're screwing yourself because they're going to take it if you don't sign up for Obamacare and the way things are going.
Well, a good
you can't sign up anyway.
Unfortunately, Matt, we can't get the 18% interest rate return that Congresswoman Napolitano got.
Yeah, but
otherwise, we'd all be doing it.
She didn't give a loan to the federal government. She gave a loan to herself.
Let me just tell you a little quick story. I know a local business owner, small business owner that paid a little extra into the IRS, and they did refund her, but it took about 6 to 8 months, I think it was, and repeated phone calls and hours and hours and hours on the phone. And she thought, well, maybe they'll just give me a credit for, just that's how businesses work. We'll put a credit on your account for the extra payment that you paid into. But no, they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, forget about it. You don't need that extra money to run your business.
Oh, yeah.
You're not in this for a profit. No.
But it's
profit's
just,
a dirty
sad.
word.
And the thing is, I just don't understand the Democrat mind frame these days, and I don't understand. I understood it when I was younger because it was a whole different kind of Democrat back then because I grew up around Democrats, but now they become so crazed with Obama and so crazed about the movement he's doing and the sound bites that he does, and it's almost like they completely have lost all reality and going, oh my gosh, he's the chosen one. He's going to get us out of this mess that Bush put us in. But the thing is that independent thinkers back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Democrats back then were a whole different type of people.
That's right.
It almost seems too, Rick and Matt, like the more media outlets we have, the more ways we have to watch news on TV and the internet and radio. It seems like almost the more information we have coming at us, the less we know. It's
because you can only absorb so much at one time,
right? And if you think back a little bit, maybe people did research more in the past because they had to, but now you've got so many things coming at you, and I'm always reminded of the commercial, and this is why it's probably not a good commercial. I don't remember who did it, but it was the it was the one where the woman, it's Allstate commercial.
Okay, so it was an effective commercial.
Okay, it just took a minute.
Yeah.
The Allstate commercial where the woman is, talking about the French model that she meets, this overweight, guy that's clearly not French, and because the internet said he's a French model. Well, you believe everything that's on the internet. So there's so much disinformation coming at people today.
Yeah, that's right.
That there's you don't know where people just get bogged down and never actually learn for themselves what's going on.
One thing I want to say, what Jim Roach was saying here, is the best hope is to control it and then push the free market. I want to say quickly on what he was saying there is what he was trying to imply, and I think about Obamacare, is control the situation and push the free market and basically ignore the fact that it was supported by the Supreme Court, and we were supposed to just move on with this whole Obamacare thing. And here's the thing: I have a problem with that because this is why we have a rift within the Republican Party. And now you've got the old guard supporting it, it almost seems like. And I also heard now we're going into the amnesty thing, and you've got Paul Ryan. We got Paul Ryan also talking about making 11 million people, giving them amnesty, writing a bill about that. But I want to get
this thing now, and he's a freaking Republican. What the hell?
And at the same time, they all support this Obamacare. And then you got the other side, the Tea Party people, the anarchists they call us now.
Yep.
And the thing is that, and I feel like I'm part of that group because I'm sick and tired of the growth of government. And the thing is that this is a grassroots movement, okay? This is not a group that was all formed by one person. It was basically just a word of mouth, and it grew. And they said, we're tired of all this crap in government. We're tired of the theft that's going on. We're tired of big government explosions with the IRS controlling our health care now. We're basically just animals to these people. We're numbers. We're pencils. We're like paper clips. They just shuffle us around. They don't treat us like human beings. We don't have a pulse.
You know one of the things you said at the beginning of that statement you made was the rift. There's this rift in the Republican Party. And the media plays that up at every opportunity. Well, I happen to think that a rift is a good thing.
It is. It's healthy.
It forces discussion. You don't see any rift on the Democrat side.
It happened when we founded this country, too.
The Democrat
right.
side takes their direction from their leader and mindlessly goes with it. It's like the walk of the zombies. If you get up, you hear one of them say something, the others will blindly repeat it for the next weeks to come.
Months, years.
There is no rift there because it seems like there's nobody thinking there. It's one thought, and they can't get a second one.
Yeah, it's
Just
a
the
hive
one.
mind almost. But I want to point this out, too. You were saying that there's so much disinformation out there, and there is. There's a lot of disinformation on the Internet, but there's just as much on the mainstream media.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't mean to imply it was just the Internet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying with things coming at you, the Internet, the news
Yeah,
media,
everything.
newspapers,
some
everything.
of the only places that I trust now are sites like Drudge Report.
Right.
You know, Drudge, and everybody likes to dog Drudge Report and say, oh, he likes to spread lies. But, you know, I've never seen Drudge actually write a story. Oh,
Or
no,
yeah,
they're all pulled from
Breitbart, too.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Breitbart does the right thing, too. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think,
right.
you know, if you look at Yahoo, it's all sugar puffs and
That's right.
all, you know,
And then
it's disgusting.
as Jen said here, sites like InfoWars, a lot of people dog that site, but I've researched a lot of things. I've never found anything that they put up there to be non-factual. Not
Cool.
one thing.
You know,
So-
there's some other sites you can go to that, you know, I kind of check every day, and one's a little bit more opinion related, but it gives you both sides and articles from both sides, and it's Real Clear Politics. If you're not checking out that
Yeah,
website, you
I
really
do like that
should,
one.
because they do, you know. And again, most of these are editorials that are posted, but they're left leaning, they're right leaning, they're all over the board. They just put them up there, and you pick the ones you want to read and go for it.
And I've found that, guys, if you want to see the real news, a lot of times you got to go to foreign news sources. A lot of times RT, Russia Today, will have more factual news.
Isn't that
than what,
sad?
Yeah, than what we've got here, even on Fox.
And now, wait. Now we also got our president and our administration right now spying on world leaders, 35 world leaders right now.
But here's the
the
thing.
NSA is tapping their phone lines.
But see, here's the
and
thing. That's what
that's
they're
what their
supposed to
allies-
be doing.
They're
They're
supposed to.
supposed to be spying on foreign people, not us. But they spend most of their time spying on us. I just read an article the other day.
But don't you think that's going to actually really piss off our allies?
I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's what their charter is. That's what they're supposed to be doing
I
according to their
understand.
charter.
I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, too, in today's world, if you're on a cell phone and you're a world leader and you're an ally of the United States and you get
don't
tapped,
expect to be. Yeah, you
get
don't
tapped
expect
and
to be
you get
tapped.
recorded.
And
that
I
is
agree
shared.
with you. I agree with you fully. I don't
I'd be
think
like, I
they
want
should
nothing
be
to do with the
doing
United
it.
States. These people are fools if they're going to
I
be supporting
think-
some kind of jack. I can't say jackass.
Yes, you
did.
can say
I think you just
jackass.
did.
And
yeah.
and the thing is that when you have a president that's being a complete jackass and tapping into cell phones for our actual allies overseas, and they support us, that sends a bad vibe across
Well, it
this
does. The
globe.
NSA needs to be disbanded. They really do. They need to be disbanded. They don't do anything anymore except, you know, encroach on our freedoms and our privacy. You're not a free person without privacy. That's an
I agree.
impossibility.
You know, Jim watched up, and I was thinking about this.
I watch C-SPAN too.
I was
Good
thinking
job,
about
Jim.
this morning. I do too. I have it on in the office or the house all the time, and God, I can tell you, there are few things more frustrating in life than watching a hearing on C-SPAN.
How often do you
when
yell
they're
at
in
the screen?
congressional committees? I mean, they're just god awful.
They're the same sound bites over and over and over again. And they go back and forth. There's nothing that ever gets accomplished.
And I ended up yelling at the screen. I can only watch it for a couple hours a day because once I start yelling, because I watch it on the computer while I'm doing other things, and I start yelling at my computer monitor, and then I realize, okay, it's time to turn this off.
Thing, you know, my gin and tonic budget has gone up substantially since I started watching C-SPAN.
Are you saying you're an alcoholic? Should we have an intervention for
I
Chris?
keep watching that. I might be.
You should open the show and say, "Hi, my name is Chris, and I'm a
I'm a C-SPAN-aholic.
C-SPAN-aholic." There you go.
Yeah. But guys, yeah, check out real sites and don't be afraid of some of these lesser known sites that people think, oh, well, they may be just, spreading conspiracy theories and crap, because a lot of them are actually real news. I've noticed, and again, I'll go back, I'll tout that InfoWars site because I found real news there time and time again, and most of the time, what I find there comes out first there, and then the mainstream media picks it up from the InfoWars site because that's the only place covering it, but they won't give InfoWars credit for it. So watch sites like that because that's where you're going to get the real news.
All right, so there's some things going on with this Obamacare disaster up there right now because this has been just such a disaster. And one of the hearings I watched actually was this week was the hearing with the web designers and the people that were supposed to execute this great website, and it was full of no information. But it was it's maddening to watch this stuff. But the question here is anything? Do you guys believe? I ask you both. Is anything going to happen with Obamacare? Right now, it looks like there's some thoughts out there. There's some senators tossing around the idea of delaying individual mandates. There's some other talk of not doing that, but delaying fines.
Even Obama said that he's willing to delay the fine and stuff because of a discrepancy between the time that you have to actually buy Obamacare before you get fined, because it takes 2 weeks to process and all that, and you'd have to actually buy it a month before you think.
But I think he's only looking at like a 6-week deal.
Yeah, exactly.
There's some talk from some other people. I think
there's a term for that, Chris. It's called "kick the can."
That's right.
Well, you've got some other people up there. Senator Kay Hagan, who's a Democrat from North Carolina, she's talking about waiving the tax penalty and 2-month extension for enrollment. You've got Joe Manchin, who's a Democrat, and we're talking Democrats now. So they're kind of starting to jump ship on this program, at least in terms of enforcing it right away. He's talking about a 1-year delay on the insurance requirement, and he's got a partner in the Republican Party, Senator Johnny Isakson. So there's some ideas being kicked around, and Jeannie Sheehan has an idea of doing some things to delay this. So is anything going to happen? Are we just going to throw these ideas around? And if it's 6 weeks, who really cares? Is that really worth anything?
No.
It's not worth the paper it takes to put it on.
It's not going to make any difference. And no, there's nothing's really going to happen, mainly because even though the Republicans have the support they had the support to defund Obamacare, the vast majority of the public, according to the polls, sided with the Republicans on that issue, but they caved. They do not have enough of a spine to do anything. It won't be repealed. It won't be fought in any meaningful way. But as I've said time and time again, I'm thoroughly convinced it was meant to fail.
Jim just asked, how much do we need in donations to get rid of the commercials?
Using this service, Jim, it would cost us a couple $1,000s a month, most likely. So it's going to be a while. Eventually, I will be able to, again, once I get the license and stuff, which is the biggest thing that I'm working on right now. It's a complete headache, which is why we're doing this, because anything you do with the government's a headache.
If on your campaign pledges you add in getting an earmark for us for those thousands of dollars, then you got my vote, Jim.
Can you throw this up on the screen? I'm going to switch gears real quick.
Okay.
I mean, this is we already started talking about this a little bit earlier, but this is straight up amnesty for 11 million people in this country that are here illegally, and we've got our fellow Paul Ryan co-writing a bill legalizing Americans to be legal in this country. And
illegal aliens to be, you gotta
illegal. Well,
yeah, whatever. Legalizing illegal aliens.
Legalizing illegals, not the other way around.
That's
sorry.
Some wasteful legislation.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I just don't understand why people don't get angry.
Again, people are sheep. Most people don't even know this is going on, to be honest with you, because it's not in the news. It's not in the news. Me. And then you've got people are
Fox
convinced.
Is not covering this?
Not that I know of.
I know that Rush talked about it.
Rush talked about it, but here's the thing. Most people think that Paul Ryan is this big conservative.
Mark Levin covered it, too.
Yeah, they think he's this big, but the people that listen to Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin, usually they're not, to be honest with you, they're not as well educated as our listeners, but they're more educated than the average person. Okay, and we need to educate the average person, which is, why I want to educate our listeners so that they can go educate other people.
I mean, this is the guy that was supposed to be our vice president.
Yes, but he's not.
I mean, no,
I have never liked this guy because he's been like this since day one. He plays the game just like every other Republican up there, save a couple, and he goes straight to the Democrat talking points and says, "Okay, now we need amnesty."
But what scares
then we have a one-party system,
right? But here's what scares me is that I don't understand. See, we were all excited, maybe you not Matt, but about Romney being the pick, and we all wanted Romney over Obama. But I got to say to Chris,
Well,
here, let me say to Chris, if we would had President Romney and Vice President Paul Ryan.
Yeah.
And you have something like this happen, how would you feel about that?
Well, let me back you up a little bit here and make it clear that Romney was in no way my first choice in the Republican primary. And yes, you're damn right. Once it was Romney against Obama, I sure was a Romney supporter because I didn't want to see another 4 years of disaster from this administration.
But do you think that things would have been better?
Yes.
Now, when you have something like this happen with Paul Ryan and he's co-writing this bill, do you think that this would have been the practice within a Romney administration?
Well, let me ask you this question.
And yes,
to answer that,
Jim, Shark Tank's a good one too.
Would let me answer that question by asking you: do you think that immigration would be a key topic right now in Washington if Obama wasn't making it so?
Yes.
No.
You don't think so?
Not a chance.
I think
the economy would be the key topic, and it's the one thing this administration continues to pivot away from.
The only way you're going to fix the only way you're going to fix the economy is to do, and this is where, like I said, this is one of the reasons I don't want to dog Rand Paul too much, is because what Rand Paul just did. Rand Paul says he's going to do his best to block the nomination of the chair of the Fed until they bring up his bill to audit the Fed. Yep. That is going to be the only way you fix the economy.
I understand what you're saying. That's not where we were going with the question, though. The question was about would immigration be a focus right now?
But what I'm saying is no, the economy would not be in focus. Yes,
absolutely would.
Yes, immigration would be in focus because even if the Democrats or even if the Republicans didn't bring it up, the Democrats would, and they would push the issue. And the Democrats are the ones who own the mass media, and therefore what they push is what becomes the big
I think that what would happen is that when we have another election next time around, and we are going to have to hit that head because the economy's going to be in the tanks 3 years from now when we have another presidential race, and if we have hope to God we have a Republican president next time around, we'll find out whether or not that's going to be the first thing on the agenda.
That's very true, Jim. It doesn't matter who you elect unless you fix a broken system.
Well, you still have to fix the broken system, but in the meantime, we don't have to go warp speed into socialism like we're doing under President Obama. We could have had a chance to actually work on fixing the economy and not be dealing with Obamacare and the immigration question. We'd actually be working on some other things.
And people did try to take on the system,
it's the
Chris.
direction.
People went to the RNC convention, and people were pushing Ron Paul.
Well, I didn't say they didn't.
I know, but I'm just saying there are people that are pissed, and there are people that want to take on the system and take on the party or take on that rift that we were talking about and correcting it. And the young people, especially the young people, want to be heard. I mean, I just heard that the RNC hired a representative for young people.
We'll see how that works.
About time. I mean, that's something that had been needed for a long, long time. And until the RNC pays attention to what young people have to say, because we are going to have to be, like we said before, we are the debt generation. We're the ones that have to deal with this problem. Mm-hmm. Until that happens, until we, like Jim says, fix the problem, and that the problem is our federal government, nothing's going to change. We're going to keep getting these bills that are written by.
And I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. What I'm saying is that yes, there is a difference. I don't buy into the libertarian point of view that there's no difference between Romney and Obama.
They say that because they had Romney care.
Romney. The Obamacare was based on Romney care.
Well,
give me a break.
There's a whole bunch of different things that could take up 10 shows to talk about that. You know how it's a state and not federal, but that's just one. But it's
socialism. It's socialism even on a state level.
It could be a show, but
Romney was a socialist.
I would tell
you
that anybody who makes the case that there's no difference between Obama and Romney just isn't paying attention to real life.
And you know what? I have to say this. it's kind of, I hate saying it, but on one hand, it's almost good that Obama got reelected. And let me quantify that, okay? Because once you get a Republican in the White House, the conservatives go back to sleep. Just like with Obama, Obama can do anything. He can do NDAA.
It did wake up a lot of people.
Yeah, it's waking up a lot of people. And, you know, if we had a Bush or a Romney or something, the conservatives would be asleep. He could push through NDAA, and the liberals would be all up in arms.
You know, I'm going to tell you what I hear from young people. Young people, and every majority of the young people I talk to, they tell me it's the problem with Bush, and it was the problem with Obama.
Well, it's
and
just
so,
like
and when
last week,
Obama got reelected, like you said, it wakes people up, and then they know. Now they know, because when you had Ted Cruz on the Senate floor filibustering, or what they call it, filibustering or not, but when he actually went at the fact that we need to defund Obamacare, it was standing for something. It was standing against this establishment, and standing up against Obama and the Republican establishment. And now I think the young people, and they tell me, they're waking up. They realize what the problem is. And I think everyone now realizes what the problem is. And the problem is the establishment, and the problem is also with Obama and the Democrat socialist movement.
Do we have any proof that the young people are waking up to this?
This is the people are
absolutely.
telling me.
I hope you're right, because we've got to change the direction, but it takes people getting involved. So
you're right.
Look at the movement that's going on right now. Now again, the vast majority of them are still asleep. I'll give you that. But look at the movement that's going on. The big liberty movement is 90% young people.
Yeah.
People my age and younger.
Yeah.
Okay, the young people are waking up, and quite honestly, they're pissed off because both parties have
should
sold
be.
them down the river.
And they should
And
be.
you know,
and they have.
The people I know that are in the establishment, they'll tell you under their breath and say, it's the problem with the establishment, but they can't come out and say that
because they've got no spine.
They got no spine,
and it's about time that
they
those
also get on those host committees. They're on those host committee. Lists.
I'll be the first
time.
to say there is a big problem with the establishment, and it needs to change. It needs to change from
but
within the party.
The only way you change that is if you got people that are up there that will have the balls to say, you know what, the party's wrong. And I'm going to stand up against it.
Well,
I'm going to do something that most people see radical. I'm going to repeal laws instead of sponsoring laws.
Well, exactly right.
Were you at the last executive committee?
No.
And you're saying that you need to stand up against the establishment.
I do,
right?
because I do not think that the only way you can do it is from within. I think that the two parties, just like happened in Ohio a couple weeks ago, the two parties collude together to do everything they can to outlaw a third party. That just happened in Ohio. They made it damn near impossible for a third party to get on the ballot because of financial restrictions. Okay? This is what happens. It's not that a third party can't happen because people won't follow it. It's because the third party is financially restricted because
Jim just said here that one third of the people register under the age of 30. Register independent.
Exactly. And that's right. And your point there, Matt, is exactly why you have to change it from within the system. That's why you have to do it that way, because it's so restrictive and so damn impossible to do it any other way.
I don't see that. Quite honestly, I don't think voting's going to do it.
You just made my argument for me.
No,
you're just as stubborn as he is when it comes to certain issues.
Well,
see, like when Chris says that he's
let me finish my point here. Let me finish my point here. My point is that we need, as I've said in several other shows, we need an American Renaissance. We need the people to wake up. You don't need the people in Washington necessarily to follow you. What you need is a bunch of people to wake up and storm the Capitol, not with guns, but with ideas, a bunch of signs. If we had 1 million people storm the Capitol saying audit the Fed, guess what? The frickin' Fed would get audited.
Wouldn't mean a thing until you vote out the people that are blocking that.
It would, because numbers will always overpower the people in Washington. They will always do what the numbers call for. But we don't have the numbers because people won't stand up against the people in the parties.
Well, a couple things. First of all, if you had 1 million people go protest that's nothing. There's nothing outside the party about it. So, there's
it would never be covered anyway.
No reason you can't be a Republican and be against and want to audit the Fed.
The Republicans, what I'm saying there, the Republicans are against auditing the Fed, except for basically the Pauls and Cruz. Okay.
So you need to change it.
You need the libertarians there.
So you need to change it within the party. You just made the argument not 5 minutes ago that because of restrictions in financing and how you do
and
things,
that's what I'm
you
saying.
can't-
The people need to
the
mobilize.
two main parties choke.
It's
but
not
if you don't change the laws, you have to have the people to
the
change
people
the laws.
if the people mobilize, the laws will change.
If you have elected people who will change them.
You don't even need the elected people will hear the people's voices if there's enough of
Well,
them.
they did actually. If he's got a point here. The whole thing that happened
Well, yeah,
with
we
Ted
have to have
Cruz.
a
Wait,
clue.
when he
That's
had
exactly
Ted
right.
Cruz in there, and when Ted Cruz said, "We want to defund Obamacare," and one man said that and took on the establishment, and they went to shutting down the federal government.
And
one man did that
and
with the support of the Tea Party.
And where is Ted Cruz? Is he a United States Senator?
Yes.
Is he a Republican?
Yes.
I think that's my point.
Right.
Is Rand Paul a United States Senator?
Yes.
Mike Lee?
Yes.
Are they Republicans?
Yes.
And
so
as
we're
I've
starting
said,
already to make changes within the
I
party
agree.
by
I
electing
agree.
people like
I
this.
don't think we are. I
That's
think
what we
we've
have
got a
to
couple
do.
people that are trying, but the party itself is not changing.
Well, how do you
change it?
You have to
Within
start
the
somewhere.
party.
With an uproar from the people.
Ted Cruz.
You
What
have
he's
to-
the
you
point
get
he's
the
trying to
uproar,
make,
and then you
Matt,
vote
is
for
that
people like
Ted
Cruz
Cruz
and Lee
are
Back up
Republicans.
your mic. You're overdriving your mic. Don't
So
yell into your mic.
Listen,
talk about these
they are
guys.
on a Republican Party.
They won elections.
They're not libertarians.
because there was an uproar in their area, and they were the candidates that were supported
Exactly.
by those people that were creating the uproar.
They're not
They got
co-
elected, and
they're
that's
not-
how you make change.
Right. And they're
Okay.
not in the Libertarian Party. Do you see them standing up there with a L next to their name? No,
No.
they're standing with a R next to
No,
their name.
they're like me. They're small L libertarians.
doing
I'm
it
a
within the
libertarian
party.
with it, and I'm still within the party. I have not left because I still have hope that the party can
So they're
change.
changing the establishment.
But what I'm saying is there's validity to both sides, and you need people outside the party. Have I ever called for everyone to leave the Republican Party? No, I stand with you guys. I think people should be fighting within the party. What I'm saying is quit dogging people that think it can be done from outside the party too, because when you got pressure on both sides, that's what's going to change the party. I'm not saying that everyone should leave the Republican Party. I haven't left.
Right.
I'm saying that you need pressure on both sides. And you know what? No, I don't go to every single REC REC meeting because I don't think it's necessary. I think what we
I don't
do
think it's
here,
very productive either,
exactly,
quite honestly.
Exactly. Just going there is not going to change anything. I need to change the people's
the
hearts.
reason why I say it's important to go to meetings is because if you're not going to meetings, then they have strict rules for the fact that then you're not part of their group.
But I'm not a
and you can't
member
change
of
it.
the REC.
I know, but I'm saying
So
people,
me
let
going
me
would
finish,
not
let
do
me finish.
anything.
Let me finish my thought. My point is that if you are a member, I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying if you're a member, and if you're a member out there in the country, then if you don't participate and you give up, then you lose your voting right, and then it just gets more corrupt and gets more bigger, and it becomes more of the talking heads.
Yeah.
And that's it.
What I'm saying here, like I said, don't attack me for not going because number one, I'm not a member. And number two, I'm not a member because there's only so much I can do. If you are a member of the REC, then by all means go and do it. We need both. I've got so much on my plate. I can't keep track of the REC. I'm having a hard time keeping track of the Cape Coral government. Okay? I'm keeping track of too much. I can't do it all. I need people like you that you go to every single one of them.
No.
You do your thing. Well, you try to at least. I know that. But we need both. We need the libertarians.
There
on
is
the
so much
outside,
when I
and
go
we
when
need-
I go to
that's
those
my point.
When I go to those meetings, there
That's
is
a
so
point
much
that I could.
There is so
certainly
much
agree
tension
with.
in the
Yeah,
room.
That wasn't where we started. That wasn't where we started the conversation.
Okay.
But that's where it
That
needs
was-
to happen.
But
Absolutely.
I I'm
But I'm
going
gonna say when I go to those meetings, Matt, there's so much tension in that room because all eyes sometimes go on me, and I cause tension and I cause friction between the establishment and the younger crowd. And there's only a few of us in that room that have to put up with this. And then you got people that say, I want to make a difference. They go in there, and then they don't go to another meeting. But yet, when I get outspoken and I get angry and I call out some of these people, then all of a sudden I walk in the room and they go, give that dirty look to you and and stay away from that person because this person's bad news. Yet, there's not too many people that are doing that. There's very few. There's very few that hold them to that fire. All right.
Jim, that certainly was not intentional. Not intentional.
No,
at
I don't
all.
have any control over the commercials, buddy. And it looks like you're the only one getting them. I will say this. I'm not going to tell you to do it. It won't help us any. But if you get really sick of the commercials, I'm told that Ustream has a service that you can buy to get rid of the commercials on your end. But that's completely up to you. That doesn't help us. I'm not endorsing it. I don't know anything about it. I'm just told it's there. I don't see the commercials. We're doing a full broadcast, and the when you watch the Ustream feed later, there will be no commercials. So there you go. So anyway, yeah, what I was saying is don't attack those that are outside the party trying to work, because we absolutely need both, and that's what I was defending.
That's absolutely right, and you were going off in another direction there, and I don't think we were on the same page.
No,
I think we are now.
Yeah, I think we are, because again, I'm not saying that you're doing the wrong thing by staying in the Republican Party. I do as much as I can within the Republican Party.
And here's the thing about when you're involved in the Republican Party and you're in it, and there's only a few people there that are doing what we're doing, and you get so much tension and you get so scrutinized and you get talked down to and you're disrespected, and yet you kind of go, all these people are complaining, but they're not helping, and there's only a few of us in there that are doing it. And we're in the back of the room, and we have a few tables in the back of the room, and that's where our designated areas are. We're treated like crap.
It's because you're not establishment.
That's right. You're not rich.
And this is and this is why the Libertarian Party, grew up. It's because people are leaving the Republican Party because they're just fed up. But here's the dirty little secret.
If a lot of
nobody wants to talk about it. It's not in the news. But guess what? There's a lot of libertarians that used to be Democrats as well.
That's right.
Right.
So
why
the Libertarian Party is growing at a very rapid rate.
No.
So
I'm just saying, why can't Republicans, young Republicans, and Libertarians work together?
They can.
Well, I think they do in a lot of cases, more so at the young level than anywhere else.
It needs to be more of that, and it needs to be. They need to attend our meetings, and then our meetings need to be attended by them.
One of the things that puts off libertarians, and I've said this before, is the fact that when you're doing a young Republican event, you can't have a libertarian speak.
Right.
Unless they are registered Republican like I am.
Right.
That whole loyalty oath thing really gets in the way of the Republicans. It actually helps the Democrats because we put on that forum.
Right.
And we couldn't let the one Democrat that was running speak, and that put off a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'd say I will give you this though. It was the best attended forum.
Well, absolutely it was.
Any, so it didn't.
But even out of the people that
much.
attended, I was there. I heard a lot of it. There was a lot of people complaining.
Well, I remember that
the Democrat
Vince Cummings,
couldn't speak.
They were
when I
Democrats.
asked, and
but still,
when Vince Cummings spoke, and I remember, I had to call him, say, "Are you a moderate or conservative or Republican?" I'm a proud moderate. But I do have to say that it's disrespectful to keep those people in the back of the room and not let them participate. And they got a big applause and big cheer. But the thing is that
let my people free.
Right.
I think Jen hit it right on target here. Change within the party, pressure from the people.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
I think I am too. So I think we're on the same page. My God.
I think. Wow, that doesn't happen very often when we get into these deeper issues.
It must be getting late in the show.
Yeah,
and the baby boomers here are going to start, start dropping like flies.
That's horrible.
Oh, I would never say that. No, I mean,
well, you just did.
Well, I mean,
our apologies to the baby boomers.
I'm sorry. Here's the thing: when the generations before us had, during World War II or during the 60s, 70s, and I think it started in the 50s, didn't it? The baby boom generation. And the thing is that there's a huge amount of people out there that need to be at some point, they're going to have health issues when they get older, and we're getting to that point now, and that's why they pushed this whole Obamacare thing and universal health care, because there's going to be so many people coming into the system, and how are we going to take care of it? And yet we take the burden of that, being the younger generation. And we're going to carry on that debt. So the problem is that how can we fix this problem, being us and our kids as kids, because of the baby boom generation. The baby boom generation, I think, had a lot to do with this whole Obamacare thing. Am I right or am I wrong?
Yeah, I don't think so.
I mean, because so many numbers are going into the system for the healthcare system. Am I right? Or so many people that are getting up there in age that need nursing care, that need to be taken care of. I mean, at some point, everyone has to retire, and
I
everyone
don't
gets
think,
that. The last phases.
You can try to say that, but I would say that aside from the young people, the biggest people that are against it, and a lot of them are Democrats, are baby boomers, because they have an understanding that they're screwing their kids. So, this is something that was pushed by, Marxists straight up, and which Obama is one of them, because as I've said before, this is the Marxist dream, because Obamacare will fail. There's no way around it. Okay,
but you don't think it has to do with a huge population of seniors?
No, it doesn't.
It has to do with a liberal president, and at that time, a liberal Speaker of the House.
Yeah, but you can't even call this guy liberal, man. He's Marxist to the core.
I'm being polite. But so this is where we've gotten to. We've gone into a system because of who our leaders were at the time. Otherwise, if you had a healthcare problem and you wanted to solve it, if you had a conservative in office, you'd find conservative solutions like free market competition, intrastate competition.
Jim said Obamacare started with
Reagan. You'd do some tort reform.
Disagree, but
I would too. You'd do some tort reform, and you'd find real solutions, not this mess of federalized health care, which is going to make the system work less efficiently and cost more, because that's what happens with government programs.
Well, and it's the same thing, and this is where I would I would sort of agree. Starting back all the way with Reagan, we started seeing the handouts for health care, the roots of the modern day Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that, and honestly, that's where this is headed, is across the board Medicaid, single payer system. Because, as I've said before, I truly believe that this was intended to fail. As a programmer, I've looked at the website. There's no way that that was intended to work. As I've said before, a monkey on a typewriter could type better code. But the point is here again, they're going towards a single payer system, and it's not even about health care. Take it straight out of the book of Marx, the Communist Manifesto. This is the holy grail, because health care allows for the control of every detail of your life.
One thing I want to just kind of mention too, and I just saw this on Breitbart, is that George Soros to co-chair Ready for Hillary Super PAC. That's coming in probably about 3 years.
There's a shocker.
That means it's going to be on every alphabetical network.
And if the Republicans are smart, they'll have the same. They'll have one mantra: remember Benghazi.
Jim. When Jim's got a point here, and basically it's that. When Dems propose something, Republicans oppose it. And Republicans could propose the same thing, and then Dems would oppose it.
And you're exactly right.
And that's true. And we just saw it with the debt ceiling. A couple of years ago, we had every Democrat, including the president, who was a senator at the time, up in arms about raising the debt ceiling. It was irresponsible. It was un-American.
It's because the public is being played.
Switch it around. We switch it around to the Democrat wanting to raise the debt ceiling, and the Republicans attack that. So, yeah, and Matt, that brings me back to one of my favorite phrases about government, and it's the game being watched is not the game being played.
And you're exactly right. The public is being played. And this is why I constantly say that at the top levels of the party, we have a single party system, because they work together. Just like, when Bush wanted to raise, like you were saying, the debt limit, everybody, including Obama, was against it, but yet it passed. Same thing. They want this idea that they're separate, but they work together. How many backroom deals are made between the Republicans and the Democrats?
Changing note here, did you know that I just saw this headline, Washington Bravehearts,
really?
neighbor of the Redskins owner, files trademark application, registers domain name, and it's WashingtonBravehearts.com. So it looks like they've registered to change the name of the Washington Redskins.
I don't think that was him.
Let's not jump the gun here.
No, that was somebody in his neighborhood, you just said.
I know.
Give me a break.
But I just thought That's just something to stir something.
You know, I'm sorry, but I'm so sick of the racism bull crap. It's not about race. I mean, come on.
It's on television every day. Come on, you're not tired of talking about it?
They've come out and they've banned...
Let's talk about race.
They've banned brown bag. You're not allowed to say, yeah, I'm brown bagging it when you bring your lunch to work anymore because that's somehow racist.
Oh.
Please, somebody find me the race in that. It couldn't be talking about the cheap paper that the bag's made out of. Give me a break.
Or the fact that the bag is brown.
You know, what the...
You know, this is one thing I always discuss with everybody, and it's always like, it's kind of like a hush thing. Nobody wants to really say it. But there's racism in every race. There's racism in the Native Americans, the African Americans, the Caucasians, the Asians, the Japanese. You name it, any race there is out there, there's racism in every race.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
Arab. Oh, if you look at an Arab
it's called
person,
it's called tribalism. Okay, and it doesn't even. It's not always a race. It's, you know what?
But why isn't that a talking point?
Look at the Indians, as they're called, the Native Americans, if you want to be PC. You know, they would fight each other. They were the same genetically. Okay, but they were different tribes, and they would fight each other, and they hated each other because of tribalism. If you can't hate each other on race, you'll hate each other on something.
Right.
Okay, it's wrong.
Right.
But it's basic humanity.
It's, I think, human nature too. At the same time, when you stereotyping people, that's just everyone does it. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. But at the same point, the media pushes it, the government pushes it, because here's the thing. If you keep fighting each other on race, you don't see things like nobody saw NDAA because they weren't paying attention. Okay? You keep fighting each other on stupid crap that doesn't matter. And once again, like I've said so many times, and if you say the game being played is not the game being seen, okay, well, it's the same thing.
The game being watched is not the game being played.
Whatever. You know, as I say, you know, they keep you busy with the crap that doesn't matter in the right hand so that you don't see what's going on in the left hand.
Right.
It's called balkanization. It goes all the way back to Britain, long before we became a nation. They've called it balkanization. They call it the great game, divide and conquer. You divide the people so that you can do things and the people don't notice it.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, but that's what happens.
Right.
You know, and just because we don't like a policy of this president,
that's coming up next.
That doesn't make you racist. Yep. It makes you sane.
They've actually talked about that on the news. Sorry.
Oh, they did? They actually, whiteout. Remember?
They've talked about that. I've read a couple articles saying that they should ban whiteout. They should change the name because it's racist. Anything white is racist.
Well, what's going to happen when the power goes out next time? Is it still going to be a blackout?
It damn sure can't be a brownout, can it?
Oh.
Anything with the word black in it is not racist. Anything with the word white in it is.
Basically, that's the trend I see.
No, the rule is that if a Republican or a conservative says it, it's racist. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
And if a Democrat says it, well, he's well-meaning.
But if you look back in history,
that's the difference.
If you look back in history, Republicans have more than once favored against slavery.
Well, yeah, the Republicans are the ones that push the
civil rights,
civil rights issues.
And then
the Democrats are the ones that were, most of the Democrats in office back in the day were KKK members.
But why isn't that the talking points with the Republicans?
Because it doesn't favor either side. Because, like I said, the establishment wants what the establishment wants, and it has no bearing on whether they're the Democrat or Republican.
So when you have Chris Matthews out there calling the Republicans racist, why aren't the Republicans getting on a microphone, because they have their own agenda, like you said, but get in front of a microphone and saying, well, let's look back on history, folks. Who were the ones that voted for civil rights? Republicans. Who were the ones that voted against slavery? Republicans. I mean, we could go, the list goes on and on and on.
Matthews is just an absolute fool. I mean, there's no other way to
but
describe it.
But I'm just saying that
I don't think he's a fool. He's a tool.
Why are we not putting that message out there? Because there's a lot of Democrats out there that don't know the history of the Republican Party.
Well, that's right. That's right.
So
there's a lot of Republicans out there that don't know the history.
Why aren't they educating people on it?
Because if they educate people on it and they find out that it's not the way they've always been told in the media, then they can't use that to game the people anymore. Again, it's divide and conquer.
Yeah, I remember, Jim, telling me that during the campaign season about
Yeah,
white out in his
and for
wife's
those who are
classroom.
watching later
That's
on,
hilarious.
Jim says that OSHA took whiteout away from kindergarten teachers and such. Yeah, we
it
know.
ties back all into that wussy stuff that I talked
Well,
about in
exactly.
schools last week. You can't play with a
Exactly,
ball.
it's the
gotta wear a helmet,
wussification of
you gotta-
America, and you know
And
what?
they
I
give
wanna
them
show-
awards for everything.
Since
to be a winner.
we've kind of segued into the wussification of America, do you have that article ready? They're making the Marines, even the guys, wear the girls' hats now.
Oh yeah, I'll pull that
Yeah,
up here.
pull that up and we'll put that on the screen. But yeah, they're even wussifying our Marines now, guys. Again, you watch TV is one of the main reasons I don't watch TV. It pisses me off beyond belief.
Oh, by the way,
because
Chris Matthews had also said that only whites can be racist.
Oh,
just so
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
whites and white conservatives actually is.
What about
Okay,
black
here we go.
conservatives?
More
You might want to
accurate.
pull this up on the screen there, Matt.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh,
But yeah, they're making the guys wear girly hats. If you don't remember these,
Well,
type
the
of
guy, no, they
hats-
want it equal. See, the thing is, they want the guys and the girls to wear the same hats.
Yeah,
So we're all equal.
yeah, but of course they don't go to the guy's hat; they go to the girl's hat.
To make us less dominant.
Well,
I don't
no,
know.
I
I
think,
just don't understand it.
to me, it's not that hard to understand. Again, look at what's on TV. You watch any sitcom out there, the guy is a complete oaf who can't do anything right, and the woman's in charge. Okay,
So they're trying
And,
to
you
switch gears.
Yeah,
right.
and who was it that said it? I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Well, let me put you on the spot.
when
Matt.
men cease to be men, women
Let
will be
me
men.
ask you a question then. In the 1950s, when the woman stayed at home and
Uh-huh.
and cared for the kids and made the meals,
They did so by choice. They could go out and work.
and then the man went
Mm-hmm.
out on the job and supported the family. Do you think it was right for a woman to be in that role? I mean,
If she chose to
if
do
she
it,
if she chose
now-
to be independent,
if she chose to be independent, she could.
right?
And and she could today.
Actually, back in those days, that
but
was
now,
looked down on.
But now, yeah. But now you're looked down on as a woman if you're not out there, being a man.
And now they're trying to change the whole role here, where the woman's going to be
That's
more-
right. The man is nothing. The man is a wuss. He needs to be shunned. And and what it really comes down to is the state is the daddy. The state is.
I
the
wish we
husband.
had a caller from a woman's point of view and see what they had to say about something like that.
Well, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, guys, if you don't want to call in, put up there, what you think. And I know we've got a few women watching right now, but it's not a sexist issue. Women do what they want to do, and they shouldn't be pressured to either side. If they want to go out and they want to work, fine, go work. If they want to stay home, they shouldn't be pressured they shouldn't be pressured to go out and work. And the problem is that they are. If they want to stay home and raise the kids, by
Go
all
ahead
means,
and-
that's a noble thing,
Right.
But so is going and work. There's no difference. Do what you want to do. There is a thing called liberty, but once again,
I hear
that's being
nowadays.
trampled.
The man stays at home, and the
Yeah.
woman goes off to
Yeah.
work to bring back the bacon.
I heard this conspiracy theory that way back in the day, men actually used to go hunt, kill something, and drag it home for dinner. Hell, now men are scared to get their hands dirty. I mean, what? We need real men. That's all. That's a lot of what's wrong with this country. And guys, this isn't a sexist statement. There is a difference between the men and women. Biologically, we are different. Biologically, women think more emotionally, and that's natural. You're supposed to. Okay, you have your role in raising children,
I don't know.
and women need that.
I've met women that are a lot.
That's true. There are
emotionally stable
exceptions.
than men.
Well, yeah, there are exceptions, especially now because men are so wussified. Okay, but men make good strategic leaders because we don't think emotionally. We think this is what has to happen. If I got to make a sacrifice, I will. This is what's going to happen.
I don't know. I think there's a lot more criers out there.
There are now,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
men have been wussified.
Well, it's not wrong for a man to cry.
No, it's not. But at the same time, you shouldn't sit at home and cry because you spilt some damn milk either. Okay? I mean, come on.
Right.
I mean, you know what? Go get your hands dirty. Go do something for God's sake. There's nothing wrong. You're looked down on anymore if you can go, as the old country song says, you can go skin a buck and run a trot line. Guess what? I'm a real man. I can go do that. I can go hunting. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. I love to do it. But these guys now look down on you now because you go do that. You must be a redneck. You know, it used to be that a redneck was considered someone you could trust. Now it's something wrong and bad.
Well,
That's society.
You know, one thing, and I'm not going to get into that discussion at all about men and women, but you know, you can't be a redneck at the University of Colorado Boulder for this Halloween, though.
Well, that's
you
right.
can't
That's
do
right.
that.
Yeah, because like I said, it's become something evil. And guys, and again, I'm not saying that women should do whatever they want to do. They've got just as much right as men. What I'm saying is men need to frickin' man up.
Well,
Man
someone
Up.
just asked.
Isn't that a commercial? What's that commercial for? Man Up. What's that one? You don't watch TV.
No, I don't. How would I know? If it's not on a computer screen or in a book, I don't know. So you'll have to think that one up on your own.
And Jen, I think if we had 1 million viewers right now, we'd probably have 500,000 calling in to complain about the Matt's statements. They'd probably be Democrats and call it race.
Well, and that's
and
fine.
Call it sexist.
I don't mind people disagreeing, but see, this is part of the problem. I'm not saying that you have to stay home. I'm saying that if you want to, you should be able to without being looked down on.
And Matt
But
is
Matt,
also
to finish
saying,
that sentence, I'm going to add in, but I think you're right.
Okay, there you go. There you
But
go.
you're not always right.
I never said I am. I never
I
said
know.
I am.
I was just pushing your button there.
Yeah, but you know,
right.
I am opinionated. But guess what? I'm a man. I have an opinion,
Yeah.
and I'm not afraid to stand for it. You know, again, that's part of the problem. Men today won't stand for anything, and they won't go out and they won't push their opinion. They won't protest because they're afraid someone will disagree with them. For God's sake, you know, if there's one thing I could do for everybody, I'd make it where they don't give a damn what other people think. That's the most freeing thing in the world. Go do what you want to do. Go show people what you believe in because it's right. Whether you're right or wrong, it's right for you to go tell people what you think. Whether your opinion is right and wins out doesn't matter. Your voice should be heard.
You know, it's good to have debate. It's good, and this ties back to what I said about the difference in the two parties right now and that rift in the Republican Party that Rick talked about earlier. It's a rift only because the media calls it that. It's really just people who disagree on the best way forward, whereas the Democrats don't have that rift because there's only one way and they all blindly follow. Disagreement is important, and it's necessary for things to change and for good ideas to come about. And
that's exactly right. And when it comes down to it, gridlock was built into Congress. It was supposed to be there.
Exactly.
You know, the Founding Fathers built the government the way they did because it was supposed to be, the wheels of government were supposed to move very slow. Better that nothing happens than a lot happens.
Exactly right.
Hey, Matt, will you throw something up on the screen?
Yeah.
This is just a little funny thing, I thought.
And it's probably a good way to kind of...
And you know what?
Now to lead in, you got it. Is it on the screen now?
It's on the screen, yeah.
Well, I guess Sarah Palin was asked to be on Piers Morgan's show, and this was her response. This picture is what she sent him, saying...
And I say, go for it. You know what?
Kind of busy right now as she has the bear that she hunted.
And there's nothing wrong with a woman that can hunt either, guys. That's awesome. So, well, again, what I'm saying is liberty is key. You do what you want to do, and society shouldn't shun you either way. So, on that note, guys, it's 3 o'clock. I think we're going to wind up.
Yeah, I want to thank our viewers for tuning in and listening to the show, being a part of the show, actually more than listening or viewing. You're responding
and putting up with my screw-ups with the new software.
Giving us some great comments. So, this one we will definitely have for rebroadcast. It'll be out there on Facebook and wherever else Matt puts it over the next couple of days, YouTube and some other places.
It'll be on YouTube. I will announce it on Facebook, and it'll replay.
Share it with your friends. Get it out there, and get people tuning in and get them involved. And thanks for
listening, everybody.
And go enjoy a beautiful day if you live here in Southwest Florida.
Or head down to Oktoberfest if you're in Cape Coral.
Yeah, I think most of us are headed down there after this. So you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching.